Right, we're now live on YouTube. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, off we go. Right. Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to councillors, officers attending this council meeting and to members of the public and press viewing the meeting via the live stream. I hope you are all keeping well, and my best wishes go out to you all in what are still difficult times for many people. I'm Councillor David Andrews and I'm the Chairman of East Lindsey District Council. This is our 7th remote meeting of the full council under the new government legislation. To help assist us with the smooth running of this meeting, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping rules. Firstly, please only turn on your microphone when speaking. This is really important, otherwise the audio will become unclear with background noise. If you wish to speak in the meeting, please press your raised hand button on the, it's moved now, it's on the top right hand corner. I will then invite councillors to speak in the order that they requested to speak. As usual, a councillor can speak for up to 5 minutes on an item. A democratic service officer will verbally notify the councillor when 30 seconds is remaining and when 5 minutes is completed. If you need to leave the meeting, please verbally let me and the meeting know this before you leave. Otherwise, we won't know if you meant to leave the meeting or you have left due to a connectivity issue. Finally, if you experience a connectivity issue, please contact Elaine Sharp or Joanne Patterson on the contact numbers that have been provided. Our officers will be supporting us during the meeting, and on that note, I'll hand over to Anne Good for item 1 to take the record of attendance. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Terry Aldridge.
Here. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Andrews is present. Councillor Ashton. Councillor Ashton, thank you. Councillor Richard Avison.
Here.
Councillor Stan Avison.
Present.
Councillor Adrian Benjamin.
Present.
Councillor Wendy Bowkett.
Present.
Councillor Billy Brooks.
Present.
Councillor Danny Brooks.
Present.
Councillor Jimmy Brooks.
Present.
Councillor Trevor Burnham.
Present.
Councillor Sandra Campbell-Wardman.
Present.
Councillor Graham Cullen.
Present.
Councillor Richard Cunnington.
Present.
Councillor Mark Dannett.
Present.
Councillor Colin Davey.
Present.
Councillor Sid Dennis. Councillor Sarah Devereux.
Present.
Councillor Colleen Dickinson.
Present.
Councillor Dick Edgington.
Present.
Councillor Stephen Eyre.
Present.
Councillor Martin Foster.
Present.
Councillor Richard Fry.
Present.
Councillor William Gray.
Present.
Councillor Chris Green.
Present.
Councillor Adam Grist.
Yeah, present.
Councillor Will Grover.
Present.
Councillor Alex Hall. Councillor Alex Hall. This might be an apology. Councillor David Hall.
Present.
Councillor Sandra Harrison.
Present.
Councillor Paul Hibbett-Greaves.
Present.
Councillor George Horton.
Present, but I will be leaving the meeting at 7 o'clock because I don't know why tonight's meeting is on a Tuesday when most parish and town councils meet, and we have a council meeting tonight when our normal night is Wednesday.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Tony Howard,
Present.
Councillor Ros Jackson,
Present.
Councillor Neil Jones,
Present.
Councillor Thomas Kemp,
Present.
Councillor Steve Kirk,
Present.
Councillor Terry Knowles,
Present.
Councillor Andrew Leonard,
Present.
Councillor Craig Leyland,
Present.
Councillor Jill Makinson Sanders,
Present. And I too will have to go for a 7 o'clock live town council meeting.
thank you, Councillor. Councillor David Manjon,
Present.
Councillor Graham Marsh, Councillor Marsh,
Yeah, present, sorry.
thank you. Councillor Fiona Martin,
Present.
Councillor Helen Matthews,
Present.
Councillor Steve McMillan,
Present.
Councillor Daniel McNally,
Present.
Councillor Edward Mossop,
Present.
Councillor Claire Newman,
Present.
Councillor Sarah Parkin,
Present.
Councillor Julie Platt,
Present.
Councillor Paul Rickett,
Present.
Councillor Phil Smith,
Present.
Councillor Jim Swanson,
I'm here.
thank you, and Councillor Turton Levers is an apology. That concludes, Chairman, thank you.
Right, thank you very much. And Jill Makinson Sanders, you've got your hand up to speak.
Yeah, I was going to declare an interest on the next bit.
Oh, we'll wait till I do that. I'm doing that next. Okay.
Yeah,
Item 2 is declarations of interest, if any.
yeah, that's where I was going to declare that 2 of my family work for PS2.
Right, thank you very much. Councillor
Yes.
Richard Fry.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I also need to declare an interest as a director of PSPS and have been advised by the monitoring officer that I should not involve myself in the debate or the decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tom Ashton, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just to declare on the same item that I'm an elected member of Boston Borough Council, which is mentioned throughout that document. And whilst I am satisfied that I am perfectly capable of judging this item exclusively as an East Lindsey District Councillor, on the advice that I've had and in the interests of openness and transparency, I will take no part in the debate or the vote. I shall leave the meeting when that item is debated in a few minutes' time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Paul Ibbott-Greaves, please. You're muted, Paul.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yes, I'm also a director of PSPS, and on the advice of the monitoring officer, I shall leave the meeting before item 7 is discussed.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Right, thank you. Move on to item 3 to receive an update from the leader of the council on COVID-19. Councillor Craig Leyland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, councillors and officers. There's quite a few concerns this evening. Obviously, we're dealing with the COVID vaccine. I'll give you the update shortly on all that the council's doing, but obviously as well, the flooding issue, there's concerns about the River Witham and the steeping sort of culminating Thursday, Friday. So let's hope that the rain keeps away and the Environment Agency and colleagues and the drainage boards can manage the situation. So just thought I'd mention that. I will happily circulate the briefing after I've given it. The reason that I haven't circulated earlier because things are changing quite quickly, and I thought I would leave it to the last minute to be fully updated by officers and partners. So I'll just go very quickly through this. Quite happy to take questions. This is about all the realm, all the work that the council is doing across all the realms of its responsibility for ourselves and working with partners. So just going through headings, communications team, this is quite central to much of the COVID response. and especially given that the NHS and LRF are responsible for the direct communications which we feed out. So working very hard to convey the messages on behalf of this council and partners to our community members and workforce. One of the things that we have done to make sure that our efforts, our officers' efforts are reflected in being acknowledged was the Inspire Stars Award, which was part of the employee recognition scheme that happened earlier this year, or sorry, later last year rather, which was good to see the teams and their responses to the COVID crisis were being praised for their efforts. So the environmental health team continues to focus on engaging businesses to ensure compliance with COVID restrictions, responding to complaints and to referrals. The service has undertaken 132 proactive visits to businesses since November 2020 and responded to 101 COVID-related service requests in the same time period. Our COVID advisors have made 152 visits to premises, and there are currently 9 COVID advisors that provide a presence in towns across Boston and East Lindsey. And efforts are being made to recruit further advisors to the scheme, which will run through to the end of March. The scheme is funded by MHCLG, a grant which has been pooled between both councils, and we've commissioned Magna Vita to coordinate the scheme on East Lindsey and Boston's behalf. Our environmental health and housing planning and licensing are working together to ensure that holiday caravan sites are closing in accordance with flood-related end of season permissions and are actively supporting any residents without an alternative address. That work has been particularly focused and quite challenging. The team is supporting the Lincolnshire Resilience Forum and ensuring that the Alliance is represented and has influence on the emergency recovery arrangements in the county. And this includes attendance at the Lincolnshire Outbreak Engagement Board, Strategic Command Group, Tactical Coordination Group, and the Engagement Communications and Enforcement Cells of the Lincolnshire Resilience Forum. Going on to the Economic Growth Team, they have been distributing a package of financial support to businesses that are impacted by the COVID restrictions. A number of different schemes available to help businesses are available who have been forced to close or have been impacted. Grants have been available for the lockdown in November, the tier restrictions, and the current lockdown. Since November, the team have paid 5,384 businesses, a total of £5,640,609 in grants. The government has provided additional funding for top-up payments to help businesses affected by the current lockdown measures, and these have been automatically paid to 9,252 eligible businesses, totaling £18,668,180. We continue to administer significantly more grants in other areas in Greater Lincolnshire, and we are proactively notifying businesses of the financial schemes that are available. And as we know, that we've been encouraging businesses to sign up to the business newsletter, e-newsletter, and it's very important that they do so they can keep up to date with those grants. The news of the lockdown in January 2021 has resulted in over 500 inquiries to the team about what support is available to the district businesses. Unlike the first lockdown, the payments since November have been smaller, regular payments. The majority of these have been paid to eligible businesses paying business rates. However, we have also been able to offer a discretionary scheme to support many more businesses. We anticipate the administration of grants will continue whilst restrictions are in place. And we are developing a recovery support package, which will be a program of initiatives that support our community as we emerge from the COVID restrictions. We were eligible to receive a share of the government's £50 million fund to support measures that deliver a safe environment for businesses and customers during COVID. This reopening high street safety funding of £124,000, which we received, is prescriptive. However, we have been creative and resourceful to utilise it effectively. It has enabled joint working with town councils and traders associations, as well as colleagues in Boston, to deliver shared campaigns. And the activities include digital marketing campaign, including a series of safety message videos, which were used in our social media campaigns. Market towns were provided with a package of pavement vinyl, banners, feather flags, and printed material using shop local, safe, be kind messaging. And we have worked with individual town councils on their specific requirements These have included hand sanitising stations, perspex screens, barriers and movable planters. Advertisements in local publications and newspapers to reinforce the safety messages. These have been responsive to changing messages throughout the pandemic, and a series of radio campaigns with Links FM. And of course, various councillors and officers have been on BBC Radio Lincolnshire as well. Vox Pops recorded with residents on coping with safety requirements and restrictions. And through our vital and viable workshops, we have identified that businesses were keen to access retail focused business support. We have been able to use the Reopening High Streets Safety Fund, to commission a special pilot programme that businesses in the district will be able to take part for free. High street retailers will have an opportunity to enrol their businesses and team on a three-part programme with rural retailer Ophelia Gamble and her team of business specialists. Having this specialist in place to support the process with a bespoke action plan for each business on the high street really sets this apart from signposting advisory services. More information on this programme will be shared soon. Housing and homelessness teams. There has been a continued focus on preventing homelessness and reducing rough sleeping. Work to prevent homelessness arising from the holiday caravan park closures has been complex and resource intensive, with over 200 households supported, but has resulted in only 3 households to date requiring the council to provide accommodation, with the remaining cases being supported to access alternative options. Work to address rough sleeping during this period has included secure funding to work in partnership with Framework Housing Association, who are in the process of acquiring accommodation in the district that will be available to individuals who otherwise would be at risk of sleeping rough. This is a long-term accommodation opportunity, and our teams are in the process of developing a local lettings policy to enable and support this process. The 6 units of accommodation will be available from April 2021. Wellbeing Links. This continues to deliver a COVID support service across Lincolnshire alongside its normal service delivery. Demand is monitored daily and at present is considered to be manageable. Much of the hard work is put to processes and systems in place during the first lockdown is paying off, and the teams continue to deliver the outcome our communities need, all the time being able to respond to changes required through lockdown or more localised arrangements. The Wellbeing COVID service is operating 7 days a week whilst in national lockdown, and these arrangements will be reviewed depending on demand. Our safeguarding and community support officers are providing a vital lifeline to those residents who need support and assistance most. We continue to deliver the Test and Trace self-isolation support scheme, and this is £500 for low-income households in some circumstances to help them self-isolate safely. As of the 9th of the 1st, overall we have paid 179 grants, which totals £89,500 to help help individuals self-isolate safely. At all times, it has been about more than a grant, and for every case, the team, working with South Holland and Boston, review the wider support needs and options available to people, which has continued to enable positive outcomes. We are pleased that government has increased the funding to enable us both to enhance and extend the scheme, and we are pleased to be able to access LCC winter grants funding for households in some circumstances who had otherwise not met the Test and Trace support criteria. We will provide a fuller update to members on the impact and outcomes of both schemes at a later date. And I know everyone's very concerned about the vaccine rollout. I'm attending the Loeb meeting tomorrow where we'll get more detail of how that is going. And I have to say, I'm very pleased to confirm that the communications between NHS, our local NHS colleagues, is improving, and we have a direct link now with the chair of the CCG and the chief executive at the Loeb board and through direct contact with leaders, and that's very helpful. We have received daily briefings on how the vaccine is being distributed, and while I can't give you the specific details of that, I think I can give you reassurance that all the vaccines are used appropriately to deliver to the most vulnerable groups, as outlined in the programme of work of vaccination for the over 80s and their support staff and health workers. That is being extended to the 70 plus age group as and when they're able to do that. But the rollout is challenging across Lincolnshire, especially in East Lindsey, because of the dispersed nature of our communities, and the work to vaccinate care homes is ongoing, And I believe that when I get an update tomorrow on how all that goes, I will happily pass that on to councillors. So a lot of work going on, a lot of effort from our teams, and I have to say, very pleased with all their efforts. But I'm happy to create questions, and I will happily share this report after the meeting tonight. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for an excellent report, Councillor Leyland. Councillor Tony Howard, please.
Yes, I'd also like to say thank you very much for a comprehensive update. But I have got a couple of questions. Firstly, you mentioned that there had been some challenges in dealing with the holiday parks and people moving away from what they regard as their normal residence. In 6 weeks' time, these people are probably going to want to start coming back to what they regard as their natural home. What are we telling these people, and what are we telling the parks as well? And on the rollout of vaccinations, you didn't mention any update on the roving teams that they're trying to put together. When are they likely to come on stream? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Jill Makinson-Sanders, please.
So, Chairman, sorry, I know it's protocol that we wait for all the questions to be had because these are quite important and detailed. Do you mind if I answer them?
You wish to answer each one
one at a time, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Okay then, Councillor Leyland, please.
Councillor Howard, just in response to your question, I do apologise for not responding to your email sooner, but the answer to the question is the government initiative to make sure that people are not made homeless by the lockdown will be in place to ensure that those people that have been displaced by the COVID restrictions can return to those sites. This is not East Lindsey condoning the use of holiday sites as residents, but it is taking account of the fact that the government have sought to minimise the potential of homelessness because of the COVID restrictions. And in respect to the roving use, that is coming to play now. I will get a full update tomorrow on the impacts of that roving vaccination service and where it's going and what it's doing. But happy to update on it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jill Makinson-Sanders, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say a very big thank you to all our staff for going that extra mile, and it really does show who haven't missed a day, haven't missed anything, and they've been they're putting themselves especially at risk. I think we did discuss at one of the meetings I was at that postal services around here are being a little compromised, and it is showing in receiving things like agendas and things like that. And so I don't know if you know any more about that, but postal services do seem to be a bit sketchy. And finally, please could you say a very, very big thank you from all the people that have been going to Louth for their jabs. I know 2 members of our council today were saying they both had 2 jabs at Louth. It's so well run, and the praise is excellent. I haven't heard any bad comments about it whatsoever. So if you could pass on our grateful thanks for that as well, we'd be really pleased. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Makinson-Sanders. In respect of the postal services, that has been brought up at the lower group because obviously people have been communicated by post. There wasn't a solution offered, but obviously the postal services are heavily impacted with parcel posts. I will pass on your thanks to all those involved in delivering the vaccine and to our officers who have done a fantastic job in taking these things forward. It's something to behold. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tom Ashton, please.
Mr. Chairman, just very briefly to add my words of thanks for the report that you've just given, Councillor Leyland, and to add also my thanks to the grants team for the care and attention and help that they have given to people that I have signposted in their direction. When you're dealing with village halls and so on, you're often dealing with people that don't necessarily have the IT knowledge and certainty that some of us have gained over the last 12 months or so of working remotely, and I have only good words and good feedback to the grants team for the help that they've given, certainly to a couple of village halls and other organisations in the area that I represent. So I think there's a lot of good that has been done. There's a lot of good being done by the district council, and looking at the national and international pictures, I continue to be optimistic for a safer and happier 2021.
Thank you, Councillor Ashton. I'll happily pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? No. Right. Thank you. Item 4 is the date of the next meeting. The programme date for the next meeting of the council will be Wednesday, the 3rd of March, 2021. Item 5. Now, just before we take item 5, can I ask if there's any councillor or anyone wishes to drill into the Boston Borough Council business case? If so, show your hand, please. Because if not, we shan't go into private session. No? Okay, so we move on to item 6. Proposal for Boston Borough Council to become a shareholder in the Public Sector Partnership Service Limited. Over to Councillor Marsh.
Just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, that I'll leave the meeting for this.
Okay, yeah. I think there's a few others as well.
I'll just leave a couple of seconds, Chairman, to allow them to leave the meeting, then I'll strike in.
Yeah, yeah.
Have they all left, Dan?
Yes, Chairman, I can confirm the help.
I haven't got a full screen, that's the problem. Yeah, I think they've all gone.
Yes, I think they have, thank you. Right, Public Sector Partnership Services, which I'll refer to as PS2 hereafter, formerly Compass Point, was set up in 2010 to deliver a number of back office services and deliver savings to the councils. The company is wholly owned by East Lindsey District Council and South Holland Council, the ratio of 63% and 37% respectively, and their shareholders A and B. This split was based on the then population in each area. Each partner has 3 directors on the management board, giving equal power to both councils. The cost and any efficiency savings are aligned to the percentage split. At the time the company was formed, Boston Borough Council was invited to join and become a partner, but at that time, BBC, the Boston Borough Council, decided that this route was not for them. In line with ambitions at the time the company was formed to grow the company, a business case has been developed by PS2 for Boston Borough Council to join the company as shareholder C. This can be seen in Appendix A, which is attached to your papers. Please consider this as a confidential document due to the commercial sensitive information it contains. By bringing in BBC, Boston Borough Council, as a third shareholder, it will generate further efficiency savings, and whilst maintaining service levels and also further serving to develop the collaboration through the strategic alliance of East Lindsey District Council and Boston Borough Council. Both East Lindsey District Council and South Holland Council will have to agree to allow Boston Borough Council to become the third shareholder, and Boston Borough Council will have to agree to join the company. They will be offered 240 shares at the book price of £1. In line with the financial percentage, this will equate to East Lindsey District Council having 48% of the shares, South Holland 28% of the shares, and Boston Borough Council 24%. Future costs and savings will follow these percentages. However, East Lindsey District Council and South Holland Council as founding members will retain the existing founder shareholder principles as outlined in the joint venture service agreement. This ensures that East Lindsey District Council and South Holland only retain the vote on important issues, so will always remain the ultimate control of the company. Boston Borough Council will be required to buy into the company only in respect of associated costs of joining the existing arrangements and delivering implementing the transition for Boston Borough Council, and where a cost exists, such as legal charges and infrastructure charges, that's what they will pay. One factor in the expansion of PS2 is that taking another partner into the company will not adversely affect performance to the two principal shareholders or have a negative financial impact to them. As you will recall, the principal shareholders recently agreed a further 10-year contract with PS2 with a breakout clause after 5 years. This will also apply to Boston Borough Council once they join. Can you just stop the noise for a minute while I make my speech? Boston Borough Council currently have 55 full-time equivalent staff delivering the service that PS2 will be delivering subject to confirmation, and these will be tupied to PS2, and there will be an agreement approach of no redundancies on the transfer or within the first 12 months, and staff will retain their current place of work unless agreed otherwise during the consultation or until PS2 undertakes a review of its accommodation strategy. Boston Borough Council will be responsible for meeting any redundancy or retirement costs agreed prior to the transfer. Further staffing issues can be found on pages 9 and 10 of the report, along with operational and financial considerations. I do need to advise of 2 amendments that I would like to be included in the report that can be found under financial implications on page 4, line 3. 849k should read as 811k, and line 4, 347k should read 308k. These were initial figures which were found that needed amending when further work was done, but it was not possible to amend these figures in the papers as they stand, as the report had been published and was in the public domain, so have to be amended this way. The changes to the company rules will be set up to allow another partner at a later date, shareholder D, to join the company should the opportunity arise. They would join with the same conditions as Boston Borough Council and be shareholder D. The proposal for Boston Borough Council to join the company has been before Overgrown Scrutiny Group, Appendix B of your papers, pages 13 and 14. The recommendations of this group are listed at the bottom, and their report, page 14, and states that the BBC, Boston Borough Council, should be accepted as shareholder in PS2 Limited, as this will be beneficial for all 3 councils. The recommendations are laid out on the bottom of page 1 and the top of page 2 of the report, and I would ask that you support these recommendations. If there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. Councillor Marsh, do you need a second for that?
I would think we do. Yes, please.
Yeah. Could I have a seconder for that proposal, please?
Yes, Chairman, I'm happy to second and reserve my right to speak, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leyland.
Okay.
Right, Councillor Jill Makinson-Sanders, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sadly, I've got to go in 5 minutes, and I would like to, I'll have to log on and listen to the rest of the debate afterwards, because I thought it was a really interesting and important debate. I was the chairman of the recent scrutiny, which looked in depth at our alliance with Boston, and I think it clearly revealed there were risks to this council if Boston doesn't invest further in IT. Adrian Sibley, our 151 officer, who I noticed somewhere there looking with a beard, he admitted the finance team at Boston was stretched. and there was a question about its sustainability. Adrian had great praise for the work that PS2 does for us at Manby, and you know, in view of all of this evidence, and we also interviewed Lewis Duckett, and we put these same questions to him. Lewis Duckett is the CEO of PS2. I've no doubt that if Boston isn't included in this scheme, it will be a threat to our council, a risk. It would seriously compromise us, I think, in the future. The timescale is tight to hit the end of the year, especially given the impact of all the COVID stuff that's going on. I do hope they've got the capacity to be able to achieve this timeline, and for services not to suffer. I think it'd be helpful if this council could have regular updates on the progress of this over the next few weeks. I know we're a bit of arm's length, but it's quite important because I do think it is a risk to this council. And I'm going to steal some words from Councillor Leyland. I'm going to misquote him slightly. That's an earlier meeting I was at. It is an example where there are going to be 3 people in this marriage, but hopefully this will have a happy ending.
And Councillor Marsh, do you wish to answer them individually or all at the end?
I'll take them now if you like, because if Councillor Jill Baker-Sanders is leaving, then I can.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Part of this is that Boston will not be allowed to join the company until they are happy that they have invested in the IT infrastructure and brought up their systems. That's part of the agreement for them joining. They're getting their shares at book price, which is £1, but the cost will be they need to come up to our standards and South Holland standards. In other words, the standards that PS2 are already delivering before they go. I'm sure that there will be stages as we're going through, but I am confident that they will meet those standards and that it will be a successful marriage.
Yes, well, I hope so. And you'd get my vote if I was going to be here. But thank you very much. I'm going now, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Councillor Tony Howard, please.
Thank you. Very quick question. Back in the day when this was first mooted, we were talking about different percentages of shares. We were looking at East Lindsey having 49.9, South Holland 29.5, and Boston Borough 20.6. That is different to the figures now quoted. What's the reason for this change? Because Boston now have a quite considerably larger share of the shares.
Yeah, I think when the company was initially set up, it was set up, my understanding is, on the population. And I think that this share split now is split on the amount of work that PS2 will do for each council. So that's the way that the amount alters a bit. That's my understanding of it.
Thank you. Councillor Fiona Martin, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to refer to the Overview and Scrutiny Working Group report at pages 13 and 14, and just really to thank officers and members who supported this bit of work at very short notice. But I thought it was actually quite a good exercise in how quickly scrutiny can look at something and come forward with recommendations. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process, and this was a very useful working group session. And I would like to recommend the recommendations, if that's the right way to say it, to the council. I think Councillor Marsh has already moved that they are accepted, and I think they're just common sense and things that will help the situation moving forward. But I would like to thank both members of Overview, Councillor Marsh, Councillor Leyland, and in particular Rebecca James, who supported us with this piece of work. Thank you.
Did you want to say anything, Councillor Marsh?
I can only thank Councillor Brenner Martin and the members of the Review and Scrutiny for pulling this work together as quickly as they did and for the job they did and supportive job. It's an example of how the council can work really fast and effectively.
Thank you very much. Councillor Andrew Leonard, please.
Thank you. Just building on Councillor Howard's thing, looking at the percentages of shareholding. If interested party D comes along, my only concern is that as a standard shareholding issue, the other three minority parties would have enough to outvote East Lindsey District Council. So East Lindsey District Council is essentially giving up almost like it's majority stakeholder type situation. I think Councillor Marsh mentioned something earlier on which would alleviate that situation, but if you could just confirm what would happen in that, if something went wrong in the future, where would the District Council stand, East Lindsey, i.e.? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been raised before, and we've taken up the question. What in actual fact happens is that the founding shareholders, that's shareholders A and B, East Lindsey and South Holland, always retain control of the company. I'm just trying to find the words that it's been put into. The share amounts have no effect on control decisions made within the joint venture service agreement or company infrastructure. The founder shareholders have always had 50-50 decision and control, which makes it suggested not possible. Boston wouldn't be a founder shareholder, so there are many key decisions Boston, which only South Holland and East Lindsey District Council could make. So I can assure you that the joint venture agreement keeps East Lindsey and South Holland as the principal holders of the company and the principal decision makers, and they cannot be outvoted.
Thank you very much. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, and I'm clocking off as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Councillor Phil Smith, please.
Thank you. I'm sure you remember I did raise a query at the outset of our journey to this merger around whether or not that were raised by the unions around concerns that Boston might join PSPS and that there might be redundancies. I was very pleased to hear Graham mention just then that there will be no redundancies ahead of TUPE transfer, and there will be no redundancies within 12 months of that transfer. However, I wondered what the long-term staffing implications might be and what the general plan is for staff and what they might expect after that 12 months has expired. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Smith. My understanding of it is, when we were briefed by Lewis, is that the team that's coming across from Boston are barely able to wipe their face with the volume of work they got. They haven't replaced where they might have done because the PS2 do have some slack within their staff at present. They can be moved around. No staff will be asked to move from where they work now unless it's part of the agreement before they move forward. And I think in the future, PS2 will be looking, I'm assured, to be taking on some apprentices and to actually grow the workforce, not shrink it.
Right, thank you.
That's great, thank you.
Councillor George Halton, please. Or has he left?
No, I'm here, Chair, don't worry.
Oh, right, okay. I wasn't a bit worried. I thought I might have missed you.
I'll say, just before I do leave the meeting, I would just like to offer my support to this proposal. As part of the scrutiny panel that was formed to look at the alliance, and as Jill has already said, we did interview Lewis Duckett, the MD of PS2, and I personally was very enthusiastic, if that's the right word, with his attitude and the way he's looking to take things forward. I think it's the right thing for this district council, and I'm sure, obviously, hopefully, South Holland feel the same. And I think it's, as I say, there are many reasons why we should go down this road. And they always say, you know, strength in numbers. And when you've got the threat of potential Greater Lincolnshire Council coming along, it's always a bit of a worry. But I think this is a move in strength. It's a good idea. And of course, with it, it's going to generate further financial savings. So prior to me leaving the meeting, I would just add my support, and I hope at the vote that this goes through. But I say, Chairman, unfortunately, it's a Tuesday night. I don't know why we have on a Tuesday, but there we are. I must offer my apologies and leave the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Orton. Good night.
Thank you, Councillor Orton, for your words of support.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Danny Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've just got a question for Councillor Marsh, if I could. Are we confident that Boston and South Holland will accept the same deal? If they don't, or one of them doesn't, what is do we have a plan B? Is this a one-time offer deal, or is it oh well, if you say no, we'll come back and do another deal as we did in the original Boston situation? So I like this deal, but I'm not sure I'd be wanting us to give any more. Thank you.
My understanding is that this has been put before us tonight. I think it's Thursday night for South Holland, and then next week goes before Boston. The indications I've got, and we can't prejudge what a council will do or say, but my understanding is that the indications are that the councils are happy with this arrangement.
Thank you very much. Councillor Leyland, do you wish to come back and speak?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity. Can I just thank Councillor Martin and Councillor Jill Maxwell-Sanders for their scrutiny work on both the Alliance and also the proposal for Boston Borough Council to join South Holland and East Lindsey. I think this is quite an important occasion. I think the potential of this PS2 covering South Holland, Boston and ourselves, that covers about 40% of the residents of Lincolnshire, which is a significant number of people. And picking up on Councillor Horton's point about the confidence that Lewis Duckett was able to give in his presentation, PS2 is doing very good work for South Holland and for East Lindsey, and it will only add value to Boston in their confidence as a council. And you know, South Holland and ourselves have to be accepting of Boston coming to join. Obviously, it's a decision for Boston to make to join the PS2. So quite an important juncture in the history of all our councils. But given the track record of PS2, let's hope that Boston do make a good decision to join us. And picking up on some of the issues about safeguarding our foundation status in terms of not being vulnerable to effectively a hostile takeover, there are suitable protections within the joint venture service agreement that give us the protection that we need to make sure that that we're not under threat by this. So all in all, it's a very positive move. It gives us the assurance that we need working with South Holland and Boston, that our back office services are well managed and deliver the savings and the efficiency that we all seek to run as a council. So that's all I have to say, Chairman. And again, thank you to Councillor Martin and Councillor Maxwell-Sanders for their contributions through scrutiny.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do we feel we have enough support for this proposal rather than going through all the name calling? Anyone got a view?
Well, it's up to you, Chairman, but I'm quite happy that anybody that doesn't want to vote for it just raises their blue hand or indicates in some way.
Yeah. Well, it's yellow now, isn't it then? So anyone who doesn't want to vote, raise your hand, please. I've got one up at the moment. Oh, it's gone.
So, in respect, Chairman, I think we probably need to put a proposal just to clarify this, because it's such an important decision, that if there's broad support for this, and I think Councillor Matthews is probably saying that she doesn't want to go through with a formal vote because of the support that's out there. I think you probably need to frame it that if there's no one, if someone wants to object, they need to show their hand, then we'll have to go for a vote. But I would move that we just accept this if there's no opposition.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this proposition will be accepted if there's no opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to object to it? Please raise your hand. No hands raised, so it looks like it's 100% in favour.
Thank you, Chairman.
Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Right, so that concludes the meeting. There's no other items on the agenda, so thank you very much and good night to everybody.